This is the Elecraft K1, which is the little brother to the Elecraft K2. It's a great little kit radio. I put this one together a couple of weeks ago. Got it from a friend of mine who won it at a ham radio fest, and the radio usually sells with the 4-band module for about $369. He won it, and fortunately for me, he sold it to me for $100. And I had it for about a year before I put it together. I had multiple projects going on here. If you've looked at any of my other videos, you could see I spent some time rebuilding transistor radios, some tube radios. I've got a lot of equipment around here that I use, and other ham radios also. And there's just stuff everywhere here in my shack. But this radio here is really a fun radio. It was easy to build. If you can solder, you can build it. That's pretty much it. I use the soldering station here, if you can see this, and it's got some small areas to solder, but like I say, if you can solder, that's pretty much what it takes. Other than that, the manual is just really easy to follow. This is the manual that comes with it, and it gives you step-by-step instructions, just actually piece by piece of every part in the radio, and little boxes here as you go along to check off what you've done, and then along the way there's checks, such as this check right here, different test points, so that in the end it's pretty much guaranteed to work. If you should have some problems where for whatever reason it doesn't work when you get it put together, or you have trouble along the way, Elecraft is outstanding for their customer service. You send them an email, and generally you get an answer back within a couple of hours. They'll work with you. They stay with you on it until the problem's worked out. I also built this T1 tuner, and it's a great little tuner. It works with latching relays. And so what happens is when it tunes up, then it shuts off. And it stays tuned because they're latching relays. They latch in position and no longer needs any electricity, any power. And so a 9-volt battery will last just indefinitely. The way it works is you have the radio on, and see if I can do this, hold the camera and do this too. What you want to do is, there's some buttons on the front of this. There's a button right here where my thumb is. This button is for power. You tap it once, the power comes on. The yellow light indicates power. Everything lasts about 3 seconds and it shuts off. You touch it, push it in and hold it for a couple of seconds. It shows that it's ready to tune. So what we'll do is you push that button, and while the green light is on, you hit your keyer, and it will automatically tune it. So we'll do it like that. And it tunes the radio up. It's really great. It's real easy to use. It was fairly simple to build. I was going to build the internal tuner, the one that goes into the radio, but I have some other radios, some other QRP radios that I wanted to also be able to use a tuner on, so an external tuner was the way to go for me. If you build a K1 and you don't have any interest in any other QRP radios, they do have an internal tuner that works off one of these buttons. The buttons on the K1 as well as the K2, and I imagine the K3, I haven't really seen one of those, but they're what they call tap and hold. If you tap the button, it does one thing. If you hold it, it does something else. In this case, if you tap it, it shows the your code speed. Each time you tap it, it brings it up. Or the bottom button brings it down, your actual words per minute. If you push the button and hold it, it turns your filters on. Each time you hold it, you go to a different filter. There's 3 filters. They're adjustable. They go from, I think, around 100 kilohertz, something like that, up to 900, but you can set them the way you want. The radio covers only the CW, Morse code. It doesn't do single sideband, doesn't do voice. For code aficionados, you can hear, sometimes you can hear voice, but not very clear. Those are just stations coming in on AM. for people who do Morse code and enjoy it, people who like it, that's not a shortcoming. It's actually advantageous, because right now with the sunspots non-existent, ham radio propagation is pretty bad. Actually, propagation is pretty bad, and so a lot of your voice transmissions just don't make it. They don't go. They don't get through. Where CW does. I built this radio a couple of weeks ago, and I've already contacted people all over the United States. I live in a little town near Abilene, Texas, Central Texas, and I've gotten into Washington State, California, all up the East Coast, into New England. I had a fella on the other night in Washington State. He was running 500 watts. He didn't ever know that I was running 5 watts. If you actually study the S numbers, S levels, you'll find that the difference between 100 watts and 5 watts is only 2 S numbers, two levels. From S9 to S7, that's the difference between 100 watts and 5 watts. So it gets through, it works, it just does a good job. And generally, if you don't tell anybody, they don't know. I very seldom, well, not very seldom, I never tell anybody I'm QRP or low power till after we're into a conversation, into a QSO. And then when we start discussing rigs, I'll tell them that it's a K1 at 5 watts. People are always amazed. They already have given me signal reports of anything from 579 to 599. Generally, when I get a 579 from them, that's about what I have to give back, because that's about where their signal is. So it's a good little radio. I wanted to do this video because I hadn't seen much about the K1 on YouTube, and I thought probably someone might be interested in building one and want to really know what they're up against. My call sign is W5RCP. If you would like to get in touch with me, you can reach me through the ARRL, W5RCP at ARRL.net, or of course through YouTube. I help you out any way I can. If you have any questions about building the rig, it's cost about $369 for the basic kit with the 4-band module. The 4-band module allows you to build 40, 30, 20, and either 15 or 17 meters. I built the 15 meters. I did a lot of 15 meter back in the 80s when I was a novice using an old Tempo 1 tube radio, and I got used to it, and you know, old habits die hard. I really enjoyed 15 when the bands open up. If you build the radio with the 2 band module, it costs about $300, and you have your choice of any 2 bands, 80 through 17 through 15, any 2. Or you can build the radio like this with the 4-band module, or the one with the 2-band module, and then build the other module later, so you can have all 6 bands. The only shortcoming with that is you have to take the top of the radio off in order to change out the modules. It's not a big deal. I found it to be just a little bit of a pain, not that much. If you really want to work the bands that you don't have with the radio that you build, well, then you won't find it to be so difficult. My last K1 I sold on eBay. That was a big mistake. I sold it to buy an FT817, which is a great little radio, and but it's not for me. I still have it. It's okay. It does too much. I do CW. I do Morse code. I don't talk on the radio. I don't do 2 meter. I don't do 440. I don't do PSK 31. I don't do any of that stuff. So it was just more radio than I needed. I really like the basic K1. It's a great little radio. I hope you, if you're thinking about building one, I hope you go ahead and order it. Jump in. If I can answer any questions for you, get in touch with me. I'd be glad to help out. And I look to hear you on the airwaves. This is W5RCP. And we're out.